I notice that it is popular for some people to carry 5-shot revolvers as their self-defense gun. Other people carry 17-shot pistols with 2 or 3 extra magazines as their self-defense plan. What is the optimal number of rounds you should plan on firing in a self-defense situation? There is a saying that if I knew I was going to have a problem today, I would stay home with my shotgun. When we leave our home, we have to take something more portable than a shotgun. That's where a pistol or revolver comes into use. In this respect, we have to consider what could be the possible outcome of a self-defense situation. The question is, how many shots would we need to take to defend our lives? I have been in some gun stores where the salespeople told me no more than 1 criminal will attack me. I usually respond to these people in a polite way that I suppose you have always lived in a small town without any crime. I also inquire if they have ever been attacked by criminals. They always answered yes, they have always lived in a small town. They also respond that they have never had a problem with a criminal. There's a police study that showed the average policeman who got in a shootout hit his target 1 out of every 5 shots. Consider this statistic with the times I was robbed. I was usually robbed by 2 or more individuals. Robbers often knocked me to the ground. The ground most often was concrete or asphalt. The gunfighters in the Old West used 6-shooters as their weapons, but usually they carried more than 1 6-shooter. This is because they could not afford to try to reload very fast during a shootout. I like a revolver because I think they're a romantic throwback to the Old West. However, every time I have thought about buying a revolver, I have considered the times I was robbed by multiple individuals. I felt that revolvers would be entirely inadequate. I know there are stories of individuals who say they can reload revolvers very quickly. You may very likely be knocked down or have someone on top of you. You may find yourself lying on top of your primary gun. It would be very difficult to reload any gun. It is more advisable to just reach for a loaded second pistol. Gunfights can happen very quickly. When I lived in Richmond, there was a policeman who was the top shot on the Richmond police force. One day he went walking up to a fast food restaurant to purchase some food. When he was about 10 feet away from the counter, he realized the customer in front of him was not a customer, but a robber. This person had a gun and a bag of money in his hands. There was a shootout. Both individuals emptied their guns. Only the policeman hit the robber with his very last bullet. All the rest of the shots missed both people. There is considerable talk about shooting large quantities of ammunition at the bad guy. I frequently hear people say they will empty a 15-round magazine. They say they have 2 additional magazines to reload and continue the gunfight. I would caution anyone to be extremely careful about unloading large amounts of ammunition in the direction of the bad guy. Every shot should be carefully taken at the bad guy or not taken at all. If you quickly fire 45 rounds in the direction of the bad guy and only hit him once, where did the other 44 rounds go? You need to take care where your shots go. If they are not hitting the bad guys, I personally would not take a shot unless I was reasonably certain I was going to hit the criminal. I would not want to take any chances of killing a bystander in an attempt to unload my gun as fast as I could. Let's look at an example of a bad guy attacking me on the street. I'm walking down the street and I see someone on my side of the street. Something about this person makes me suspicious of him. In this situation, we will pretend I got across the street to avoid this person. Once across the street, I could find no other places to go. The bad guy crosses the street, and I am going through my steps of drawing my gun. You'll recall the steps of 1 through 5. They would start with getting my grip on my gun and proceed to step 5 of firing the gun. When I start to cross the street and grip my gun, I would consider, if I had to shoot, where would my bullets go? Anytime I grip my pistol, I am also considering, if I had to draw, where the shots would go. I would continually be looking past the bad guy to see if there were any innocent persons behind him. If I had to shoot, but there were innocent people behind him, this is what I would do. I would either take 1 or 2 steps to the left or 1 or 2 steps to the right. I would make sure that my shot was at an angle so as to not hurt anyone behind him. Here's a good drill for you to practice if you're able to go to an outdoor practice range. Set up your primary target that you plan to shoot, and then set up a secondary target at 5, 10, or 15 feet behind your primary target. Try to hit your primary target without hitting the target behind the criminal. This is a good practice if you had to shoot a bad guy, but avoid having your bullets go into an innocent person behind him. In doing so, you may not be able to shoot straight down the alleyway of the rifle range. You may have to try to step 1 or 2 feet to the left or 1 or 2 feet to the right. Do this to get the right angle in order to miss the innocent person target that you have set up. This practice will also prepare you for another eventuality. You may find yourself where you cannot shoot at the bad guy. This would be because the danger of hitting innocent people would be too great. There's also another mental exercise you can practice. Your mental exercise should include an attack under the worst circumstances you can imagine. You may be cold, wet, or sick. You may be in dire circumstances due to a natural disaster. You should also consider the chance of having to shoot a 12 or 13-year-old. Could you do it if they were coming at you with a knife or gun? How well could you defend yourself if you are in a dark street or dark alley? Brainstorm, consider all the adverse conditions that you could possibly be in. If someone attacked you under varying circumstances, could you shoot them? These are all mental exercises that you can practice on your own, and no gun is necessary.